The Nationals are promoting Dylan Cruz. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Monday, August 26th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and let's begin with Dylan Cruz, who we've talked a lot about recently on these in 5 episodes, but for good reason. The Nationals are promoting him on Monday against the Yankees. And this season in the minors, Cruz was batting .270 with 13 home runs, 25 steals, a .793 OPS, but he was hitting much better over the past couple weeks at AAA. He's 54% rostered. Scott, do you think Dylan Cruz is a must-add across all leagues?
So I'm not going to go that far because I am trying to temper expectations for prospects being called to the majors for the first time, no matter how high end they are. For the most part, we've seen them struggle. And in Dylan Cruz's case, the minor league numbers aren't even that impressive. They're not bad, but they're not stellar. The OPS is a little shy of 800. So I do think he's talented, a consensus top 5 prospect everywhere, basically. And if you look at the underlying data at AAA, it's a lot more encouraging for Dylan Cruz. Average exit velocity 90.2 miles per hour, max 112.6, a 17.6% strikeout rate, zone contact rate close to 90%. Chase rate's a little high for Dylan Cruz, but for the most part, all the underlying data looks strong. You can understand why the evaluators are so high on him. A good base stealer too, as you mentioned. So he could be one of those prospects who just is immediately better in the majors than he was in the minors. And so 5 outfielder leagues, for sure, I'm taking a shot on Dylan Cruz because there aren't enough outfielders to go around. 3 outfielder leagues, though, maybe. It depends if I need an upgrade there. I am slotting Dylan Cruz 46th in my outfield rankings to start out, which puts him in the same range as Wyatt Langford, fittingly, who hasn't really come through in the majors yet, but he's gotten more exposure to the majors, so maybe there's a better chance he comes through in September than Cruz does even. Puts him in the same range, Cruz in the same range as Lawrence Butler, who's had some ups and downs. I think it's basically a coin flip. You know, I look at those 3 guys, I see a lot of upside, and it's basically a coin flip who is good between them.
All right, let's move on to a waiver wire pitcher. 2 weekends in a row, we are leading off recap episodes with Bowden Francis, who took a no-hitter into the 9th inning up against the Angels, where he did allow a solo home run to Taylor Ward, but he finished with 12 strikeouts, had 15 whiffs on 117 pitches, and has looked awesome in 4 starts since returning to the Blue Jays rotation. He is 57% rostered, Bowden Francis. Scott, do you think he is a must-add pitcher on the other side?
Yeah, I think so. And it's mostly just because of how good he's looked in these last 3 starts. I don't see how you could possibly let the opportunity pass you by, especially because interesting pitchers have been so scarce on the waiver wire of late. Do I really understand Bowden? Bowden Francis, not Bowden Francis. Bow down to Bowden. That's my mnemonic device. Bow down to Bowden with how he's pitching. Do I really understand him? No, I don't. But if you just look at his numbers last year between the majors and minors, he had a 2.04 ERA, 0.98 WHIP, 10.9 K per 9. A lot of that was in relief, granted, but he showed he could get outs. He has been throwing a lot more splitters in his last couple outings, has Bowden Francis, and so maybe that's going to be a transformative pitch for him. But it was mostly the fastball that he dominated with in this latest start. 10 of the 15 swinging strikes came on that. So I don't know, but he's been amazing. Only 5 combined hits allowed in his last 3 starts. I think you pick up Bowden Francis and see where it goes.
Let's wrap up with some catcher replacements. It was a rough weekend for injuries. Wilson Contreras suffered a fractured middle finger on his right hand. Also, Joey Bart expected to go on the IL due to a left hamstring injury. So some options in one catcher league: Shea Langoliers, Austin Wells, and Adrian Del Castillo. How would you rank them for this upcoming week?
For this upcoming week, actually looks the same as my rest of season rankings. Shea Langoliers number 1, Austin Wells number 2, Adrian Del Castillo, number 3. Now, if you wanted me to rank them by ultimate upside, it might be the reverse order of that. But of course, I'm taking into account provenness and playing time and all of those secondary factors that determine usability in fantasy. But in one catcher leagues, you're free to exchange. You're free to swap out your catcher as much as you feel like you need to. So I wouldn't say they're that far apart, no matter what order you want to rank them in.
What about in deeper 2-catcher leagues? Some names that could be available: Alejandro Kirk, Miguel Amaya, Nick Fortes, and the Rockies. They all have good matchups this week. Who do you like most from that deeper?
I like Kirk. I like Alejandro Kirk. He has, since taking over behind the plate following the Danny Jansen trade, taking over full time, Alejandro Kirk has slashed 274, 370, 468. And I've always thought he had ability, low strikeout rate, pretty good quality of contact.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.